Hello and welcome to the official Haters Euro 2024 Daily Show. I'm your host, Aaron Goldstein, and I am joined in the studio today by Haters Raf Tyndale and Freddie Walker. We're going to look over yesterday's action. It was a crazy day of football yesterday, and then ahead to today's fixtures. A reminder that we are live every day at 1 o'clock, bringing you exclusive training clips, interviews, and reports from our team on the ground in Germany, bringing us all closer to the action. The big story yesterday was, of course, France and Kylian Mbappe. Jerry Cox was out in Dusseldorf.
TV here in Dusseldorf. The dust just settling on a dramatic night, not so much on the field. It was a fairly humdrum game. Settled when Maximilian Wöber headed into his own net from a Kylian Mbappe cross just before the half-hour mark. So France won their opening game, but the story really is Mbappe. He captained his country in a tournament for the first time, but it didn't go to plan. He missed 2 or 3 big chances. And then towards the end, he got a broken, well, what we think is a broken nose, but he certainly had a bloodied nose, had to leave the pitch, went down again, came back on, went down, got booked. Eventually, he went off substituted and to boos from the Austrian crowd who thought that he was playing up. So it really wasn't his night. And then afterwards, it was revealed that, well, they think he's broken his nose. He possibly will need surgery and he possibly will miss games. So this is a huge blow for France if Mbappe misses any matches. We spoke to some of Mbappe's teammates afterwards, and they seem to think that whatever the news is, and no one really knows for sure whether he's broken his nose or will need surgery, that they can cope. Possibly he could play with a mask. I think Adrien Rabiot suggested that because his teammate Wojciech Szczesny did so at one stage. But William Saliba was talking about it, Olivier Giroud, the Arsenal connection strong there. They all seem to think it won't affect France's chances too much. I can't say I'm completely sure that if France have to play any games without Mbappe, they'll have the same threat. But we'll see.
Please do get your comments coming in and we will respond to as many as we can later on in the show. Another reminder to download SofaScore because it's great and you should download it. But before we touch on Kylian Mbappe and his broken nose, it was now confirmed he's broken his nose. By the way, it was so harsh. They're all booing him. His nose is literally splattered across his face. But I just want to put it out there. France were no better than England. They weren't.
No, not at all. They didn't fill you with confidence like Spain and Germany did, where they made a real statement early on in the tournament. But, you know, they, like England, they got the job done, and that's really all that matters at this stage.
Yeah, I completely agree with Freddie. I mean, I think, yeah, the two favourites, France and England, they haven't exactly impressed in their opening games, but as Freddie said, got the job done, got the 3 points. That is all that matters. Opening games are always a bit touch and go, but yeah, got the job done.
So now the big news is Kylian Mbappe, the man himself. Is he going to be out for the tournament? Is he going to be out for a couple of games? Or if he's just going to wear a mask? What do you think of Mbappe before nose break last night, Freddie?
Well, yeah, he still had moments where he looked electric. I mean, for the goal, the own goal, he does a wonderful move, beats the man, and just looks like what Mbappe always does, And then he also went through, missed a very, very easy chance, but he created that chance with his pace and dribbling ability. So yeah, I think he's pretty good. He showed why he's such a danger man for France and why they will miss him if he is out for a while.
And Raf, let's say Mbappe's out 1 game, 2 games, whatever. Does it really make a massive difference? I know it sounds crazy because he's probably the best player in the world, but they've got so many good options. What happens if Mbappe doesn't play against the Netherlands? Who's going to play?
Well, I mean, I think Didier Deschamps has a lot of options. Actually, interestingly, Mbappe's never scored at a Euros. All 12 of his goals for France have come in the World Cup. But, I'm not going to say he wouldn't have scored had he not got injured. I think they can either go down the route of sort of, still, pacey centre forward like Randall Kolo Muani or Marcus Thuram. Thuram scored 15 goals, 14 assists for Inter this season in their title win. Or then you can also go for Olivier Giroud. He's France's record goal scorer. He definitely offers something different, a bit better at holding up the ball. But that being said, I would probably, stick with sort of the pacey front line that France have going on. So, yeah, probably Thuram or Kolo Muani might step in should he not be able to play.
Mbappe really should have scored last night. He had that one chance where, you kind of, that FIFA finesse into the far corner and he just doesn't take it. I mean, I think I'd have scored that. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, but you had to get in the position first to be able to score it, which
maybe I wouldn't have done. Maybe
took Mbappe's style pace. But,
this is true. But we haven't seen him on the pitch. So
yeah, it's true.
Who knows?
It's true.
I am pretty good.
I hear he's like Pirlo. apparently.
Fat pillow, my friends call me. William Hill have now dropped Mbappe as the Golden Boot favourite. He's priced at 9-2 to finish as the top scorer, with Harry Kane now the runaway favourite, priced at 15-2, despite neither of them scoring in their opening match. Both France and England are joint favourites at 4-1. They're sleeping on the Germans and the Spanish. They were the two teams that really took the world by storm in the first games. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Germany and Spain both look very, very good, and it looks like they'll meet each other along the way. But Germany have come in quite a lot. I think they were third, fourth favourite at the time, and now they're joint favourites. So, yeah, the bookies are definitely taking note of them now.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think, yeah, as you say, Kane and Mbappe both haven't scored in the tournament yet, but I'm sure they will. Well, obviously, you don't know about Mbappe, but obviously chances are going to fall to Kane. He obviously had that chance in the second half the other day. Yeah, I mean, Germany and Spain are the only two teams who've really sort of made a statement so far, well, but sort of Romania, Slovakia, as I'm sure we'll touch on. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. A lot of candidates have emerged for the to be favourites.
Well, also the Golden Boot discussion. Kai Havertz, I said it from day one. He's going to win it. Kane and Mbappe, both no goals in match day one. Kai Havertz, of course, he scored. It's what he does. If Mbappe is to play the rest of the tournament with a mask on his face, gives us all these masked memories. What's your favourite football memory in a mask?
Well, I've got some bad memories, which I think maybe Raf will allude to probably. But for me, it's Aubameyang celebrations. The Black Panther mask brought out Arsenal. I'd go with those.
For me, it has to be, I'm sitting next to two Arsenal fans. I'm sure you'll love this. The Harry Kane goal in the North London derby, sort of comes in off the flank, top bins, whips off the mask. Pretty amazing scenes there. So, yeah, and we've actually got a poll going on there if Mbappe is out for the rest of the tournament. HaytersTV have asked, can France win without Mbappe? And we've got quite a few votes coming in. We've got 73% of people think France can still win, still got that quality, still got, a plethora of attacking quality there. And 27% people thinking no. Sorry. So, yeah, obviously the people have spoken. I'm sure we'll come back to that poll. But, yeah, it's hard to write off France even without their best player.
Please do get your responses in the poll and get your comments in the chat because we will come back to them very soon. Do you back France to win the group even without Mbappe? Because let's say best case scenario is probably going to miss one game or so. Misses the Netherlands game, which is their toughest game on paper. Will they win it without him?
Yeah, I believe so. The Netherlands didn't look too great, and I don't actually love the Netherlands squad. But obviously, the Netherlands squad defense is probably the best in the whole tournament. So no Mbappe would obviously be a hit for France.
It is fun talking about Mbappe, but there was a man that performed yesterday that we all forgot existed. SofaScore gave us the stats from N'Golo Kante. Magnificent performance. Honestly, it was fantastic to see him. I miss him. I really have. 90 minutes played, 73 touches, 46 out of 53 accurate passes, with 2 of those being key passes, 3 tackles. He was everywhere. There was that one moment as well where it looked like Switzerland were going to equalise, but no, he runs the whole length of the pitch and prevents. Should we be watching more Saudi football?
I don't think we should be watching more Saudi football, to be honest. But I did enjoy seeing N'Golo Kante back out there and doing what he does best and just dominating games and the midfield battle. So, yeah, it was good to see him out there again. Obviously, he got hit by injuries quite hard towards the end of his time in England. So, yeah, good to see him fit and performing well on the world stage.
And Raf, Kante last night was playing in place of, really, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurélien Tchouameni, Real Madrid star midfielders. Were you surprised to see Kante in there?
In all honesty, no, not very surprised. Listen, Kante's, his experience at the highest level. He's a 2-time Premier League winner. He's won the Champions League. He's won the World Cup. Granted, obviously, Camavinga and Tchouameni, they've had their fair share of winning in their few years at Real Madrid. But, in international tournaments, you need somebody who can sort of shut up that midfield, sort of be the engine. He sort of rolled back the years. He was, he was incredible. So I wasn't surprised at all. I think he'll probably, be a mainstay in that French midfield now. And, he showed why. Age is just a number, as I always say. And in terms of the watching more Saudi League football, yeah, I'm sort of with Freddie. I don't think I need to be spending my Saturdays doing that. But also, if the Saudi League were that easy, then we'd be playing there week in, week out as well. So I think people do tend to forget it is still a pro league. Obviously, we'll touch on Ronaldo later. Got a lot of quality players in it, and it's still a professional football league. We can't underestimate that. Otherwise, let's get on the plane now.
I'd love to. We did also hear from William Saliba, who made his Euros debut last night.
mates are here in other countries. Are you keeping in touch with them? Are you following what they're doing?
Yeah, I leave them to be focused on their game, but yeah, I will send them some message. But now I'm focused on my team.
William Saliba saying that let them all focus. As an Arsenal fan, I don't know about you, but I watch all of the games that Arsenal players are playing in and just want them to do well. I really cheered on Havertz to score his penalty. It's great to see Saliba in action last night. Raf, I'm going to go to you because you watch less of Saliba. Is he the best centre-back in the world? Or are we overhyping him?
I don't think you're overhyping him at all. I mean, I'm trying to put my bias aside here as a Tottenham fan, but I mean, he's incredible, isn't he? I mean, he's sort of, a lot of people attribute sort of Arsenal slightly tripping up towards the end of not last season, the season before in the title race to his absence. Obviously, he's been a mainstay since he's come back from those few loan spells he had. He's amazing. And I think if he can, prove himself on the world stage as he did last night, I mean, some of his stats were incredible. He said 75 touches, 100% ground duels run, 100% successful dribbles. I mean, 6 clearances. He, he's amazing, and he's definitely up there. I think maybe he's got a little bit more to do before he could be considered the best centre-back in the world. Obviously, we've got, Virgil van Dijk at this tournament as well. But yeah, he's definitely up there, as much as it hurts me to say it.
If all Arsenal fans, it feels like we're like proud fathers watching him. That leaves Group D looking like this. Let's get the graphic up on screen. The Netherlands are top of the group after their opening day. France second, Poland third, Austria are bottom. Next up, as we alluded to, is going to be France versus the Netherlands. That's going to be a really, really, really big game. Boys, who's coming out of this group? We're going to see a third place team coming out of here. Freddie?
There's definitely potential for that. I guess between Poland and Austria, if someone does get the win in that next game, they have a good shot at getting that third place position in the knockouts. But yeah, it looks like France and Netherlands will be the two to get out of here.
Raf, do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think, but let's not forget that these are quite unconvincing wins from Netherlands and France. Poland and Austria are both in those games, and I think they can hold their own against sort of better competition. I mean, we might see Lewandowski later in the group. We don't know yet, but I mean, I think we could definitely see. I think this is probably one of the stronger groups we have in the tournament. I think we could definitely see a third place finisher qualifying.
Well, away from this group, Haters will be live at 2:15 with Kobbie Mainoo. What a player! What a season! Let's discuss the man, the myth, the Mainoo. Raf, tell me about him.
Well, I mean, what more is there to say? He's an absolutely incredible player. 35 appearances for United this season, and we forget that he was playing in the UEFA Youth League in October and November, and then he sort of burst onto the scene. Micah Richards star. So he was in the squad for 29 Premier League games, starting 11 for 24 of them, and he's got that something about him that means he can single-handedly drag a team over the line as he has done for United. Obviously won that match for them against Wolves in February, winning goal of the month. I think he's a special player, and I definitely think he needs to play a big part in this England squad that looked a little bit stale in our opener, I have to say.
Yeah, Freddie, were you surprised not to see Mainoo? Because Southgate has opted to play a right back instead of him.
Yeah, not really, to be honest, because of Trent's experience and what a career he's had. And we can't really forget, for Liverpool, he pushes in attack mainly into that central midfield role, and then drops back in defence into the right back position. So he does play there a decent amount for Liverpool, so he's fairly comfortable there. And whilst it wasn't a convincing performance at all from him against Serbia, I'd probably give him another shot in the team and see if he can improve on that performance.
Fair. Well, Haters have partnered with SofaScore, one of the best apps around for football fans and casuals, giving you all the stats. They've helped us compare Kobbie Mainoo and Trent Alexander-Arnold. That graphic will now be coming up on your screen. Look, Trent against Serbia, he seemed to drift off a lot to the right, which would make sense because he's a right back. Kobbie Mainoo, look at his heat map for Manchester United this season. They're both of them very good at passing accuracy, both in the high 80s. Trent loves a shot. He had 3 shots against Serbia, whereas Mainoo was averaging 0.4 per game. In terms of duels won, Mainoo's probably a little bit better at winning that ball back, which is ironic considering Trent is a defender by trade. People always say, oh, Trent can't defend. And these stats don't really help him there. 2 clearances for Trent against Serbia. 1.6 tackles per match from Kobbie Mainoo. Who would you be starting in the next match against Denmark? Raf, you first.
I mean, I think Southgate has to be brave. I think he should bring in Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, it's interesting because obviously, you know, I was at the England versus Bosnia game a few weeks ago at St James's, where Trent was sort of, you know, first playing in that sort of holding midfield role, and he played very well. But then you've got you know, got to be consistent in tournaments as well. And obviously, as opener, it wasn't his best performance. And I think, you know, obviously Mainoo isn't incredibly experienced. I mean, well, he's not experienced at the international level at all. But he, you know, if he's partnered with sort of Declan Rice in that double pivot, I think, you know, Rice, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans say he has this ability to sort of, you know, be the like last man before the back four, sweeping up, and he definitely does, which would allow Mainoo to sort of get a bit more advanced, get a bit more box to box. So I think Southgate should take a chance. Should he not? I mean, for me, I'd probably play Belgium in that 8 role. You know, he's just as good in that 8 role as number 10 in my opinion. But if he decides to stick with that double pivot, I think, yeah, Kobbie show.
What do you think, Freddie?
Well, I alluded to it, so I would give Trent one more go in that role, and we also can't forget that Adam Wharton's a shout in there as well. It might not be straight to Kobbie Mainoo. Adam Wharton's obviously had a phenomenal season, so there's options there now.
We'll touch more on England again closer to England playing. But a reminder, please do tune in at 2:15 as Haters are live with Kobbie Mainoo himself. Raf, are there any comments coming through?
Well, we have Dan Bennett saying he's not convinced by France, which is quite a big shout. But yeah, I don't know. I think France definitely they haven't covered themselves in glory, but we forget that we don't forget, but we need to remember they've been to 3 out of the 4 finals in the last 4 international tournaments. It's a pretty undisputed record. Granted, they've only won 1 of those, but yeah, I think it's definitely something to remember and to consider.
Yesterday, we saw Romania tear Ukraine apart. Haters' very own bundle of joy, Rodrigo Lara, was at the Allianz.
Thank you, Aaron. We are here, one of the last journalists leaving the Allianz Arena in Munich after this wonderful day and great atmosphere with the national team of Romania beating today 3-0 Ukraine with goals from Nicolas Estanciu, the former Anderlecht player, and Razvan Marin, who is currently player for Empoli in the Italian football, and Denis Draguz. Great 3 goals and massive 3 points for the national team of Romania. Ukraine today with a really poor performance. The Real Madrid goalkeeper Lenin with 2 huge mistakes, giving the ball away, and then Zinchenko didn't see much from the left-back player from Arsenal. And where is Mikhailo Mudryk? I don't know where Chelsea pay more than £80 million for the Mikhailo Mudryk, because today didn't show up with the national team. We've seen this a lot of times playing for Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Didn't show much, didn't show skills, so dribbling, really poor performance in general from the national team of Ukraine. I have the chance to speak with Nicolas Estanciu in the mix, and I have to ask him about Radu Dragustin, who is currently now playing for Tottenham Hotspur. Let's hear the words from Nicolas Estanciu. Apparently, Dragustin is going to be one of the most and best defenders in the world. Let's hear. Nicola, just finally from me, I would like to ask you for the press in England about Dragustin, who has been a player for Tottenham. How do you see how he's going to bring his experience to the team?
He's amazing. I know he's still very young. He's also only 22, but I think he will be one of the best defenders in the world, because I see him closely in trainings. I know that he wants to improve, he wants to learn, and I really hope that, and I'm sure that next season he will do everything to be in the starting lineup at Tottenham, because he deserves.
And for you,
Freddie, big question. Were Romania very good, or were Ukraine very bad?
I'm going to lean towards the side of Ukraine being very bad. I was very disappointed with Ukraine in that game, but Romania, if they can continue to score screamers like that, then they'll do quite well in this tournament.
And we heard from Estanciu there talking about Dragusan. He was phenomenal. I think we have his stats here from SofaScore. 90 minutes, 10 clearances, 2 block shots, 1 interception. He's a very decent player. Should he be getting more minutes at Spurs?
Definitely. I mean, I think obviously it's quite hard to break up that partnership of Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero. Obviously, were when they played together this season were very solid together. But obviously Spurs have Europa League football this year. There's a lot more games and a lot more game time to fill. So I definitely think, especially after this Euros, Ange Postecoglou will be watching. So I think we'll definitely see him on the pitch for the Spurs much more next season.
There's all these rumours that Real Madrid are going for Cristiano Romero, which I don't understand at all. Is the drop down that big from Romero to Dragosan, or as we saw yesterday, he's a very decent footballer?
He's a very decent footballer, but he's still sort of the raw product, I would say. I mean, he's barely played for Spurs since arriving from Genoa on loan this January. But I mean, the more he plays, the more experience he's going to get. When he sort of came into that team at the end of the season, that's when Spurs sort of stopped shipping goals. So I think people do underestimate Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a very good player, and he actually was a lot less rash than he was, has been in previous seasons this season. But I mean, he's a very capable backup, and I think in time that gap in quality will be closing.
Yesterday, we saw the biggest shock of the tournament as Slovakia beat Belgium. We heard from Martin Dubravka at full time.
It took us so much energy, but that's the beauty of the football. Also the outsider can be the favorites, and we did great today. The team effort always beat the individuals, and I think we deserve today because the players give everything. We kept the ball, we played with the confidence. We were not scared to play with the ball. Sometimes it was difficult because the pitch around the 70 minutes was not great. It was very bubbly. But even in the situation where Lukaku and the others came in our box, we had a composure on the ball and we tried to play modern football. So amazing team effort.
What do you think? Was Slovakia good? Were Belgium bad? Were Belgium unlucky? What do you think, Freddie?
Slovakia were definitely good, but Belgium were very, very poor in the finishing department, as we've seen in previous tournaments. I was referring to a World Cup 2022 game with, I think it was between Belgium and Croatia, and Lukaku missed so many chances in that game. And it was very similar again last night.
It's what he does. Lukaku, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, he probably could have wrapped up the Golden Boot in this tournament already. But actually, with a comment from Boy Puskuki saying Belgium or England will win this Euro, which is quite an out there prediction considering their tournament their performance last night.
Sorry, just explain to me. Someone has watched England and Belgium's opening games, and they have said to the public that they think that one of those two teams is going to win the tournament.
That's exactly what I've got on the screen here. I mean, it's quite difficult to predict that when the Belgium versus Slovakia was actually the biggest upset in European Championship history, as per the FIFA rankings. Belgium are third in the world, Slovakia 48. So don't understand what he's saying there, but everyone's got a right to their own prediction, and who knows, he might prove us all wrong.
He might do. I do think Belgium were unlucky, though. We heard from Dubravka about that handball.
What do you think about the hand play from Openda before the second goal?
Yeah, from my point of view, it was a handball. I didn't know if it's from our defender, from Dennis, or from him. But I went to Milan to tell him to speak with the referee, because from my point of view, it was a handball. And Dennis was quite confident that it was a handball from the winger. So I'm glad that the referee went to check, and all of a sudden there was a handball. So it was good for us.
Martin Dubravka, if you're watching this, which you probably are, you're a liar. There's absolutely no way that you saw that handball, because I needed, and so did the rest of the country, a slow motion replay with that weird graphic thing coming up on the screen. There's no way you saw it, you liar. The handball rule is strange because there's no arguing the rule. It was a handball, but that rule's a bit nonsensical. He doesn't mean to handball it, does he?
I don't think he means to, but he definitely gains an advantage by his hand knocking it past the defender and then obviously giving it to Lukaku. So whilst in a lot of cases the handball rule is very silly, I thought in this case it was actually quite a good decision.
Interesting. Raf?
Yeah, I completely agree with Freddie there. I mean, he gains an advantage, which obviously leads to a goal, and but by the way of the law, it's a handball, and yeah, a good decision in the end.
It is a good decision, but I'm not a fan of that rule personally. I just think he doesn't put his hand out there to control the ball. It's accidental. It's, ball to hand, not hand to ball. I think they need to have a bit of a revamp on that. Anyway, how's Group E looking? SofaScore have given us the Group E standings. Romania top, Slovakia second, Belgium third, and Ukraine fourth. It's absolutely mad because most people would have thought Belgium would be top on the opening day, Ukraine second, but that's just not how football works. Who's going out of this group? Are you changing your opinions now, Freddie?
I definitely think Ukraine are probably leaving this group now after that performance against Romania. And then obviously they've got 2 tough games coming up against Slovakia and Belgium. Belgium, I think they can recover that and get 4 points out the next 2 games. So it's not over for them yet.
On to today's matches. The world will see Georgia at a European Championships for the first time ever. Do you remember Turkey at the last Euros? They were meant to be the dark horses, and then they never really turned up. Do you think we'll see a better Turkey this time around?
Not really, to be honest. They have the second youngest starting 11 from the qualifying. So only Ukraine had a younger starting 11 than them on average over the qualifying period. So it's a young Turkey team. I don't think they're going to have an incredible tournament, but they might be able to get out this group and then probably leave the tournament pretty early in the knockout rounds.
We are going to get our first look at Napoli's Kvaratskhelia on the European stage. We have his graphics up on the screen with SofaScore. A reminder to download SofaScore. 25 million users, 25 million people know what they're doing. He was absolutely integral to that Scudetto win for Napoli the season before last, but his stats weren't bad in the previous campaign that's just gone either. He is just so pivotal to Napoli. He's obviously in the news a lot at the moment. Napoli releasing a statement. He's under contract. Where would you like to see him next year? Or where do you think he'll be next year?
Well, I would like to see him. I would love to see him at Arsenal, but that doesn't seem particularly likely. I think Napoli have made their stance very, very clear, and he'll be staying at Napoli next season.
Yeah, I completely agree with Freddie there. I mean, obviously, we'd love to see him in the Premier League. He's phenomenal talent, and I think he will definitely showcase that on sort of the biggest stage at the Euros. But yeah, I think with everything that's coming out, as soon as you get that sort of agent versus club sort of war going on, it never really ends well for the player who's probably just trying to focus on the tournament. But yeah, I think we'll definitely see him staying at Serie A next season.
Georgia versus Turkey. Score predictions, please.
I'm going to go for 2-0 to Turkey. I'm going to back them in this one.
I'm going to go for 2-1 to Turkey. So I agree with Freddie that they'll win, but I think Georgia have a little bit about them. I think they've got obviously Kvaratskhelia, and then they've got the young Met striker Mika Todze, who can obviously sort of chip in with some goals as well. So I think they might get their tournament off to an okay start.
Then we have this evening's fixture. The champions of 8 years ago, Portugal, kick off their Euro 2024 adventure, which means today is a beautiful day because we get to see Cristiano Ronaldo play football. Still, he's 39 years old and we're still seeing him. That is his stats with SofaScore over his Portugal career. 10 major tournaments he's played with the national team. He won Euro 2016, 47 matches, 22 goals and 8 assists. Is Ronaldo the GOAT?
No, not for me.
Also not for me as well. Sorry to disappoint.
You're still putting Carl Jenkinson up in the conversation.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course you have to. Is Ronaldo still the danger man though for Portugal? Freddie?
Yeah, for sure. I think you can see that with the 22 goals in major tournaments for Portugal and 8 assists. He's lethal for them. And in that 2016 win, pretty much carried them to the final until he obviously got injured in the final, and that was pretty devastating. But yeah, he's obviously still very dangerous. And now the Saudi Pro League all-time top goal scorer. So add that to his trophy.
It is nuts. He's the leading international goal scorer of all time. Most players don't play football at 39, particularly on the world stage. Is he the man for Portugal, or they've got a good squad, haven't they?
I mean, they've got a sort of plethora of talent, don't they? Obviously, up front, you've got Rafael Leao, you've got João Felix, Gonzalo Ramos, Ronaldo in that midfield. You've got João Paulinho, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes. I mean, the list goes on. And
no space for Fabio Vieira.
No space for Fabio Vieira. It is a shame, but I think they might have a few more quality players in that position. But yeah, I mean, interestingly, it's actually the 2 Golden Boot winners from Euro 2020 going up against each other today. You've got Patrick Schick on the other side for the Czech Republic. Both scored 5 goals in that tournament. Yeah, I think it's an interesting case whether he starts. He did start in their final warm-up game against Ireland. They won 3-0. Ronaldo got a brace. He's obviously always going to be a danger man. I mean, he scored 44 goals in 45 games in the Saudi Pro League this season. However much you can say it's not a high quality level of football. As I said earlier, it's still a professional league. It's still very difficult to do. And, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ronaldo at the next World Cup.
Well, yeah, he's just never going to stop. He's literally never going to stop. Plenty of Sues welcome at Euro 2024. Do you think he's going to score today?
Yeah, I think he will. But I think it'll be close to Portugal. I'd give them a 2-1 win.
Yeah, I think Portugal are actually going to come up 3-0 winners. I don't think Czech Republic stand much of a chance. But Boy Kuki is actually back with another big prediction saying Czech Republic 2, Portugal 1.
Wow.
So I mean,
This guy.
It's a bold
he's a
predictor.
brave man. I mean, I wouldn't want to see his Aka for betting. But just a final look at the poll, which was can France win without Mbappe? We've got 55% of people voting yes and 45% people voting
Numbers going
no.
down.
Numbers going down. So I think definitely a split opinion on whether, Mbappe is the main man for France, but can the sort of, I'm not going to call them role players because that seems disrespectful, but can the sort of number twos step up and sort of fill that void that he's going to leave? As I said, he's never scored at a Euros, so is it much of a void?
I can't wait to see Ronaldo again. I'm so excited. But this morning also had some news away from the Euros as the Premier League fixtures were announced. Now listen to this. This is outrageous. Arsenal have to play every single team twice.
It's crazy.
I'm not having it. It's ridiculous.
Wild.
The Premier League, frauds, corrupt. Who's got the toughest start?
Ipswich, for sure. Can't really get much harder than that as a newly promoted team, getting Liverpool and City in the first 2 games.
That's not what you want.
Not ideal.
That is not what you want. I think Ipswich last Premier League game actually was away at Anfield. They lost 5-0, I believe, 2002. They come straight back into Premier League action against 2 of last season's top 3. Do you give them any chance of staying up?
I mean, from the record of the promoted teams last season, it's quite difficult to, but you just never know. I think Luton were probably a little bit unlucky not to stay up. A couple of results that might have gone their way, but yeah, I mean, just the experience of Premier League football might be enough for, for a lot of those players. Obviously, they had a lot of loan players coming in last season that sort of helped them get to that upper echelon of the Championship. But time will tell. You just never know. And that's the beauty of Premier League football.
Freddie, now, Arsenal have to play every team, home and away, obviously. But the order of matches, does it make a difference? Arsenal got quite a hard start, don't they?
Yeah, it definitely does make a difference, but then it can also work in your favour. City are kind of notoriously slow starters for their standards in the Premier League, and so Arsenal getting them at home in the 5th game of the season, just after they play Tottenham away, and then the 2nd game of the season, Aston Villa away. So they've got 3 of the top 5 away games right at the beginning of the season. So if they do well, then the rest of their season is looking so nice because they've obviously taken out some very hard games early doors. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes for Arsenal, but I think they'll do pretty well in them.
The thing I always say is that how many points do you get for a win in August? 3. Yeah. How many points do you get for a win in May? 3. Doesn't matter. You got to win your games when they come. Yeah. The only thing is, if you've got a block of tough fixtures, it becomes mentally draining. Yeah. Speaking of mentally draining, I'll ask you about Tottenham, Raf. I don't really want to. How's their start to the season?
Well, their start to the season isn't too bad. I'm more actually going to focus on the end of the season. As you say, it is worth 3 points each. But yeah, obviously the last 5 out of their 7 games last season, or their last 7 games, were Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City. It's not really what you want. Obviously, they ended up finishing in 5th, just, Aston Villa pipped into the sort of 4th, but their last 7 games this year are much more friendly. They do have to play Liverpool away and Villa away, but the other teams are Wolves, Forest, West Ham, Palace and Brighton. So I think they've definitely got a much friendlier end to the season. But yeah, in terms of, and also going back to that Arsenal start, Freddie, as you were saying, between the North London derby and City away, Arsenal will also be playing in the Champions League. So that is going to be an absolutely massive week for the North London
in the Champions League. Where will Tottenham be playing this season?
In the Europa League.
Europa League. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot for a second.
That's so kind.
Has it changed your mind? Because Arsenal have a tough start to the season. Are they still going to win the league?
I believe so.
You believe so?
I mean, very, very close last season, but I mean, it's very hard to count out the 4 times in a row winners, Pep's Man City. So, and you never know, Ange Postecoglou could work his magic.
You touched on all the teams that came up last year, went straight back down. Same again this year?
No, I don't actually think so. I think Southampton have a pretty good chance of staying up. So do Leicester, obviously pretty historic team in the Premier League with that 5,000-1 Premier League win. I think these guys are better placed to come in and actually compete longer term. So Ipswich might be in a bit of trouble. But yeah, Southampton and Leicester can definitely compete.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, a lot of people have said Leicester sort of won the Championship with the Premier League team. So, I think they'll definitely... And, Leicester and Southampton, they've got a lot of players who have played at this level before. I think I agree Ipswich might find it a little bit difficult, but they've got sort of a young, exciting manager, Kieran McKenna, obviously opted to stay with Ipswich rather than sort of go off to Chelsea, which I think is probably a good decision. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting season, but there are definitely, it was a right odd scrap down there last season, so time will tell.
Match day 1 sees Chelsea against Manchester City. So Enzo Maresca's first game for Chelsea will be against Manchester City. That's not what you want.
No, that's not the way that Chelsea fans would have wanted it to start under Enzo Maresca, because obviously there's a lot of noise around that, with a lot of fans not being too happy with that appointment. So going up against Pep Guardiola on the first day, that could be a nasty way to start the season if it gets ugly.
Can I have a score prediction from you for that one, well in advance?
Well, as Freddie said, City can sometimes be slow starters. I remember when they lost to Spurs 1-0 in the opening game when Nuno was manager a few years ago.
Losing to Nuno is a sackable offence.
Mate, honestly. But yeah, I think Pep's teams always seem to have a way of doing it. Yes, they might have a bit of new manager bounce Chelsea, but I think probably 2-1 City.
I'll go 3-0 City. I think they'll pass them like they did under Unai Emery. I think his first game was against Man City, and that went very, very poorly at Arsenal. So I imagine it will go the same for Enzo Maresca.
100%. I honestly think City can beat them 6-0. That's all we have time for today on the official Haters Euro 2024 Daily Show. Reminder, we're live every single day at 1 o'clock, so please do join us tomorrow. Before then, make sure you download SofaScore because it is the best app for all football stats, not just for the Euros, but football around the world. And we are live with Kobbie Mainoo at 2:15 on the Haters channel.